Melody Sherry has once again shaken things up, and this time it is all playing out on TikTok. What many thought would just be another one of her polished and intentional posts quickly turned into a bold statement that has left the love and marriage Huntsville world buzzing. Melody has made it clear that she is cutting ties with the Fletchers, and her message carried a level of finality that fans cannot ignore. For years, the Fletchers, Chris and Nell, were seen as balanced, reasonable, and even supportive in the background. They weren't usually involved in the heavy drama, but now they are at the center of Melody's explosive fallout. And if that wasn't shocking enough, Maro's name has now been dragged into the middle of this situation after an unexpected phone call that fans still cannot stop talking about. The TikTok itself was the moment that set everything in motion. Melody is very calculated when she posts, and her fans know that nothing she does online is accidental. This TikTok wasn't just a casual share or an inspirational quote. It was layered, sharp, and clearly aimed at sending a message. Melody spoke about betrayal, about realizing who truly has your back, and about the need to cut ties with people who no longer align with your values. She never said the Fletchers' names out loud, but the timing, the tone, and the references were enough for fans to immediately connect the dots. Social media was flooded with comments like, "This is about Chris and Nell Fletcher. She's done with them for good." What made this moment stand out even more was Melody's delivery. She appeared calm, polished, and unbothered, but the undertones of her words carried weight. She looked like someone who had already made peace with her decision, and that body language spoke volumes. Fans were quick to pick up on this detail, with many saying that she looked lighter, almost free, like she had finally released dead weight from her life. One fan even commented, "This isn't shade, this is a declaration." That is exactly what it felt like, a declaration that she was done with the Fletchers and was not looking back. The Fletchers have always held a unique role in the Huntsville circle. Chris Fletcher, who has often been linked to Martell through business and real estate ventures, was considered one of the level-headed people in the group. He wasn't known for stirring the pot or chasing after drama. Nell, his wife, was also thought to be genuine, friendly, and approachable. Many fans saw her as someone who had a bond with Melody, and at times, the women seemed to support each other publicly. That is why this fallout feels even more shocking. On the surface, the Fletchers seemed like the least likely people for Melody to cut ties with. They weren't the ones directly involved in her divorce mess with Martell, and they weren't constantly attacking her like some of the others. Yet, here we are, with Melody drawing a hard line and sending a very public message that they are no longer in her circle. The big question fans immediately began asking is, what went wrong? Why did Melody feel the need to make such a bold move now? To answer that, we have to look at the layers of history and loyalty involved here. While Chris and Nell may have appeared neutral to the audience, there were always whispers that their ties to Martell created tension behind the scenes. Chris continued to work with Martell on real estate projects even after Martell's personal life and choices had caused so much pain for Melody. From a professional point of view, that may not seem like a betrayal, but from Melody's perspective, it was much deeper than business. She has spoken openly about how people in Huntsville enabled Martell's behavior, and how she values loyalty above all else. To her, seeing Chris remain close to Martell might have felt like an unforgivable break in trust. Adding to the speculation were Nell's social media posts in recent months. Fans noticed that she had shared cryptic comments about fake friends, keeping it real, and staying true to yourself. While Nell never mentioned Melody by name, the timing of those posts lined up with moments of tension, and many viewers interpreted them as indirect shots at Melody. If that's the case, then the friendship between the women had been unraveling long before the TikTok went public. Fans began piecing these details together and came to the conclusion that Melody likely felt blindsided, betrayed, or even played by people she once considered allies. The TikTok was Melody's way of saying enough is enough. It wasn't just a private decision, it was a public announcement. By putting it on TikTok, she ensured that the message would spread quickly and reach not just the Fletchers, but the entire Love and Marriage Huntsville fandom. And that's exactly what happened. Within hours, the video had been reposted across Instagram blogs, fan pages, and YouTube commentary channels. Everyone had an opinion, and the discussions quickly grew beyond just Melody and the Fletchers. That's because Marceau's name suddenly entered the mix, and his alleged phone call to Melody became the twist that nobody expected. Marceau and Melody do not have the kind of relationship where casual phone calls make sense. Their history has been filled with shade, tension, and unspoken digs over the years. So when word spread that Marceau allegedly called Melody after her TikTok, fans were shocked. The idea that he would step into this situation was enough to make people question what was really going on. From what's being discussed online, this call wasn't some random friendly check-in. It was directly connected to the fallout with the Fletchers. Theories about the call have been flying all over social media. Some believe Marceau wanted to smooth things over and get Melody's side of the story. Others think he was doing damage control on behalf of the Fletchers, trying to calm her down before the situation got even messier. No matter which version you believe, the fact that he reached out at all has fans questioning his motives. Marceau has always been strategic when it comes to his image and his alliances. For him to involve himself here suggests that this fallout is much bigger than it looks on the surface. What makes this even more intriguing is how the call was described by sources close to the situation. It wasn't hostile, and it wasn't emotional. Instead, it was allegedly rational and businesslike. That tone raised eyebrows because it didn't come across as genuine concern. Instead, fans saw it as a strategy move. One comment online summed it up perfectly: "This is classic Marceau. He's not calling for peace, he's calling for strategy." That interpretation quickly spread, and many fans agreed that the call was less about helping Melody and more about protecting himself or his connections. The timing of this call also adds to the suspicion. Marceau and the Scotts as a whole have often been aligned more closely with Martel or other cast members who weren't in Melody's corner. So why step in now? If the Fletchers' fallout with Melody damages their reputation or shifts alliances, Marceau might be caught in the crossfire too. Fans believe he called because he knew how explosive this fallout would become, and he wanted to stay ahead of the narrative. Others think he may know more about the Fletchers' behind-the-scenes involvement in drama than we realize, and Melody's TikTok scared him into action. Either way, his involvement has only fueled speculation and made fans believe that this is just the beginning of something bigger. Looking deeper at the Fletchers' role in Huntsville, we see why this is such a critical fallout. Chris and Nell have always been portrayed as balanced, almost like neutral ground in a world full of chaos. They were the ones people could lean on when others were at odds. But with Melody cutting ties, that perception is completely flipped. If the Fletchers can lose Melody's trust, then what does that say about their loyalty and their alliances? It changes the dynamics of the entire group. Their connection to Martel and their business dealings suddenly come under scrutiny. Their friendships are now questioned. And their reputation as neutral is gone. Another layer to this is the possibility that business conflicts were involved. Chris has been heavily tied into real estate in Huntsville, and both Martel and Melody have been deeply connected to that world as well. If there were overlapping deals, competing interests, or conflicts that spilled into personal relationships, it would explain why things became so final so quickly. As it stands now, Melody's TikTok has drawn a line in the sand. She has cut off the Fletchers, made her feelings known, and shown fans that she is not afraid to call out even those who once seemed closest to her. The Fletchers' reputation as neutral ground is over, and Marceau's surprising role has added another twist to the drama. This fallout isn't just about friendships, it's about loyalty, betrayal, business, and strategy. And the ripple effects will be felt across love and marriage Huntsville for a long time to come, because when Melody Sherry makes a move this bold, it isn't just a moment. It's a shift. A shift in alliances, a shift in power, and a shift in the way fans see the relationships they thought were solid. The question now is how the Fletchers will respond, whether Marceau will continue to involve himself, and what this means for the future dynamics of Huntsville. One thing is certain, this fallout has already changed the game, and it is far from over.